Oh, they're all hot. Okay.
Testing.
Oh yeah, they're all hot. This one's good though. Hi. Okay. Okay. I don't need that. I have a watch. I don't have to look at that to look at the time. What am I doing? If anybody wants to come hang out with me, you're totally welcome. Come sit a little closer. We can just hang out. We can chat. It'll be fun. We can talk about, what can we talk about? Our favorite fruit.
Your work.
My work?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm supposed to talk about my work.
No. Again, it's your show.
Right.
You can talk about whatever you want.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
appreciate you. I can talk about whatever I want.
Just keep PG-13.
Well, for anybody who's not aware and is just here taking a nap or hanging out or being comfy, my name is Laura Stahl. I am a voice actor. I can say that with impunity now because it's the thing that I do that people pay me money for. It actually took me a long time to become comfortable calling myself a voice actor because I felt like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm really qualified, I've only done a couple of things, or I'm just studying right now, I haven't booked anything yet, and I think that's very silly. I think that this is, if there's something that you're aspiring to and if you're working towards it, you're making a strong effort, that you're allowed to claim whatever title you so choose. I mean, if you walk in and you say, you know, I'm an Oscar award winner, when you're not one, maybe not. Or if you're a doctor and you haven't gone to medical school, maybe not. But if you're an artist and you create artwork in some capacity, then you're an artist, whether you've received a paycheck or not, because that's not how things are measured. So, once again, I'm a voice actor. I work primarily in anime and JRPGs. Some of the stuff that you might know me for would be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I played Hayato. I play Aiger Akabane in Beyblade Burst Turbo. I play Rei in The Promised Neverland. What else do I do? Something else. Oh, this just came out, Iruma from Welcome to Demon School, Iruma. Would you like a bottle of water? Do you have one? Okay, good. You got a cup? Good. Okay. I just got done with having a cold, so I understand the coughing life.
I have a sore throat.
Oh, I'm sorry,
So
darling.
I'm just coming out of it, but it's like a cough.
I gotcha. I've totally been there. That's exactly where I was through the whole holiday. I was sick in bed and I couldn't talk, and it was like perfect because I'm not working right now because it's the holiday. But yeah, so I'm a voice actor. The way that I got into that, I actually went to school for absolutely not that. I went to school for musical theater, in fact. I went to a place called the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. I am a nerd. You are correct. I paid a lot of money to learn how to do a box step and spirit fingers. And I really enjoyed it and I had a lot of fun, but one of the biggest things that I discovered while I went to school for musical theater and got my degree was I don't want to do musical theater. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy it. I am a musical theater nerd, and if somebody were to offer me a role where I got to go up on stage and sing at people, then I'd probably take it, because I'm a sucker for punishment. And but I went and I did that, and it was a lot of fun, but it didn't really hit for me. And when I left school, I thought, you know what I want to really do is actually understand a little bit more about the other departments that are surrounding actors, because I've noticed from a few actors whom I love many of them very much and very dearly, a lot of us, while enjoying attention, are also not necessarily aware of the other things that go on around them and can be a little bit inconsiderate. So what I wanted to do was learn more about the other departments, and so I wanted to learn more about costumes, and I wanted to learn more about props or stage management and other stuff. So that's what I actually spent several years doing, was bouncing from spot to spot to spot in production for stage and for film and television and live programming. And that was a lot of fun, but I still was like, well, I want to be an actor. I'm working towards being an actor, and I went and did a few stage projects. I did a few television and film things, and those were fun and good, but they were few and far between, and the life of an actor is hard. I have a friend who was also going through that same struggle when I had just gotten out of college, And we were really good friends, and we actually became roommates for several years. His name is Kyle McCarley. I don't know if you've heard of him. You might. But he is also an anime, and he started an anime far before I did. And he's lovely, and one of my best friends in the whole world. I would give him a kidney if he needed it. Don't tell him, though, his ego is already too big. But I love him to death, and while we were living together as friends and roommates, he started pursuing voiceover, and he started getting into anime, and he was talking about how much he was really enjoying it, and since we were both kind of like struggling actors at the time, he was like, you should give this a shot, you might like it, and I was like, nah, maybe, because I'm dumb. And so I was like, okay, well, why don't we give this a shot? And he introduced me digitally, like via email, to Mami Okada, who is the casting director over at Bang Zoom. And I had created a demo, do-it-yourself demo. I didn't go and pay for it. I didn't go and get a professional thing done. I didn't take a lot of classes yet. So what I did was stupid. Don't do that. But I had a demo, and I turned it over to Mommy, and I said, hi, Kyle McCarley suggested that I contact you. I'm really interested in ADR work and voiceover and anime and learning more about the process. And she was very kind and said, that's great, thank you so much, this is lovely. You should come in and observe a session. So what that really meant in very, very, very sweet casting director speak was, you're not ready, you need to learn more. And I took it as a good sign, and it was. And I got to go in and observe a session. The first session that I got to go and see was for Hunter x Hunter. Tony Oliver was directing, and Erica Mendez was in the booth. And she did a great job, and I was watching, and I was like, oh, this looks like fun, I want to do this. And I was sitting next to Tony Oliver in the control room, and he was chatting with me and trying to find out a little bit more about who I am, and he asked me what I did, and I told him, well, I went to school for musical theater. He said, oh, you do musical theater? Then you could do this. And I said, I accept that. Yes, I believe you. And so I was like, yeah, I want to start taking classes. So I went and started to take classes with Adventures in Voice Acting. They actually have a booth here over in the dealer's hall. You should go and check them out if you're interested in something like this. Tony Oliver is here with them. He will be giving some really cool workshops, and so will Dora Fine. She actually is the administrator of that school. So I went and took a couple of classes with them, and then those couple classes turned into a bajillion classes. I started out taking a few classes with them, and then I ran into money troubles because I was a starving artist, and that's what you do. And I didn't want to stop learning, so what I asked for was, hey, I'm really sorry. I can't continue to take classes with you at the moment, but I really want to continue. Is there any way that we could do a work exchange? And luckily at that time, they did need help. So they were sweet enough. I said, is there a way that I can come in and I can do copies or check people in or sweep the floor or whatever it is that you need me to do, and I can just come and observe. And I don't need to take the class, I just would love to audit and be here and pay attention. And they were very open and receptive to that, so I got to go and do that, and that probably changed my whole life, was going and getting to do that and exchange time for their time. And I built a really strong relationship with those people through that. Now, in the meantime, on top of that, I was still really great friends with Kyle, and Kyle's friendship circle was growing, and he introduced me to a few people. I got to meet Erica Mendez again outside of the booth and as friends. And she and Lucian Dodge, and they would do this thing where they would have kind of little workouts at their place. Like we'd go and hang out at their apartment, and we'd literally just kind of sit in a circle and read different pieces of copy, like for auditions, which there's going to be an audition how-to panel that I'm going to be a part of, I think on Saturday with the IVA group, and you should come and check that one out. But we were doing audition copy together, we would critique each other and things like that, and I was learning from some of these really great people that I didn't even really know who they were at the time, other than my friends. And sweet, lovely Laura Post was there, and Erica and Lucian, and they were just about to start production on an anime called Little Witch. And they were super sweet, and they offered me my first audition. And I was like, that'll be cool, I can try this out. So I tried to get the audition, and I booked the gig, and I was super excited. This was the most amazing thing in the world, and it was this teeny tiny little role for like 2 episodes, 3 episodes. There's a man behind me, isn't there? Who is it?
She's over here.
Chris forgot his shirt.
Oh, hi. How you doing?
His shirt up here.
He can't have it. It's mine now.
Oh, they leave away?
No, I don't have it. I didn't steal the shirt, but I will sell the shirt. No, I don't know where his shirt is. I think it's, did he sit on this side?
Yeah,
He sat over here. He sat on this table. So that might be a shirt. I have no clothing back there. I'm wearing everything I own. I'm a poor artist. But where was I? Oh, so I booked the role with Little Witch, and it was really amazing. And once that came out, I got to contact Mommy again and say, hi, I still exist, and now I have a little bit of experience. And she sent me a few auditions for the first time. And one audition turned into 2, and 2 turned into 4, and so on and so forth. And I booked, I started booking roles, but I wasn't necessarily booking the roles that I was auditioning for, which was still good. And that's also a way that these auditions work, is that you'll receive one audition for something or a few different characters within a project or something, and you'll read for those, but you may not necessarily book those, but they may think of you for something else within the series or within something else. Or you might book a role in one project, and they may take that as a sample and throw you on another project. Which is actually what happened for me with the latest show that I just announced, which was Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun. I didn't actually audition for that role. They took a sample from another character that I played from Cells at Work, and she showed that to the client, and the client approved it, and then suddenly I had a job. And so you never know where opportunities are going to show up, and work begets work, and sometimes even the roles that you don't book you something else. I've had that happen as well, where they've taken samples from auditions for something that they didn't throw me in on that project at all, but they still threw me on something else. So things like that happen. Where else am I? Okay, so that's sort of how I got started in anime. That's sort of how I got started over at Bang Zoom. Working with people over at Bang Zoom introduced me to other people who work at other studios, like Ezra Weiss, who is here. He's actually signing autographs way over there right now, and he's wonderful. Any panel that he's giving, go to it. He's amazing, and I love him forever. I worked with him on a project over at Bang Zoom, and he works also at another studio called Dubbing Brothers. He brought me over to Dubbing Brothers. And that's really sort of how all of these things get going. So a lot of times we'll get questions like, how do you get into voiceover? And a lot of the voice actors will be snarky and say, I don't know. But the thing is, I don't know. I don't know how it happens. The best thing that I can advice that I can give you is, number 1, Google. Number 2, go take classes. Acting classes, straight acting classes, and then specialized classes for voiceover. Think about the type of voiceover that you would like to do, not just anime and stuff, but maybe you'd like to get into interactive and video game, or maybe you'd like to get into promos, or maybe you'd like to get into commercials because you love money, and money is wonderful. There's lots and lots of different types and different avenues that you can go down and pursue when you're thinking about voiceover. And so, number 1, like I said, Google. Number 2, start taking classes and start making friends within those classes, or start making friends that have similar interests as you. I recently went on a few auditions that I cannot talk about that were way beyond what I should have access to, because I don't actually have representation at all yet. I don't have an agent. So also, it is possible and available to you to have the career like this without representation, if that's a thing that's been challenging for you. It's just tricky. So I just recently got to go in for certain auditions for things that don't exist yet, that I can't tell you about, because of people who are very sweet and who are actually in classes either with me or classes that I was helping out with. Like, I wasn't even taking the class, I was there in kind of an administrative capacity, and then they contacted me and say, by the way, I work for this casting director and they'd love to see you. Like, stuff like that just happens every once in a while, the thing is, you have to be open to opportunity when it arises, and you have to understand that the opportunities that arise are not going to look the way you expect them to look. And that's sort of how I fell into voiceover, because I didn't start out thinking I wanted to be a cartoon. I didn't start out thinking that I wanted to be an anime or even in voiceover. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a storyteller for sure. But I was willing to compromise exactly what I thought that looked like in order to continue moving towards opportunities that we're actually hitting. What else can I tell you? Let's go way back, I guess. I was a band geek. I played clarinet and the oboe for a while because they made me and I hate it. I was in school plays. I didn't make friends very easily or well. I moved a lot. I never went to a school for more than 2 years at a time. So friendship was difficult. My friends were my books. I read. I read lots of fantasy books because I don't actually like to better my mind. I just like to read. And, well, that's not true. Reading is helpful no matter what you're doing. But I read lots of books, and they were really what became my friends, and they were sort of what drove me to want to be an actor because I was immersed in these worlds, and I wanted to bring the worlds to life, and what better way to do that than to become a part of it. And that's what made me think, yeah, acting. But I never thought that I would be a very angry little boy spinning tops for battles. That was not what I expected. I never thought I'd be a little boy who touched a man who was turned into a bomb and explode and then come back together because somebody else has some of their magical drag persona, which is JoJo, and the coolest thing on the face of the earth. Oh my gosh, there are people. I know you. Hi, you missed my whole spiel.
Damn it! Do it again!
No. I will not. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I can tell you, I also, along with being a voice actor, I also now adapt scripts for ADR for anime. Woo, thank you. The first ones that I did were a couple of different Lupin, the third movies. Yeah, listen. Listen, you're ridiculous. And that was really cool because I got to work with two completely different Lupin casts, and the two movies had really, really different, how do you put it? Tones. They were really, really different. One of them was really goofy and wacky and fun and crazy, and the other one was as well, but there was a lot more darkness within it. There was a lot more drama. It was a lot harder hitting. There were a lot of harder truths that you had to deal with in that one, and that was really fun. But the other one was wacky and zany and kind of had more of a Bugs Bunny sort of feel, and I really enjoyed the difference between those. And now I'm currently writing Fate Grand Order Babylonia. Fate Grand Order, Absolute Demonic Front, Babylonia. It's the longest name on the face of the earth, and I'm gonna be proven wrong on that because there are so many animes with really long names. But I got into writing the same way that I got into voice acting, which was just by saying yes to opportunity that I didn't expect. I wasn't planning on it. It wasn't something I was aiming towards. I enjoyed writing because I enjoyed reading. And when I first started trying to be an actor and things weren't hitting, I decided I would write my own thing so I could create a demo reel. And I found out I enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden, there was this opportunity to learn how to do this new craft that was available and adjacent to what I was already working on. And I said, yes, also, if you would like other ways to pay me money, I will offer those moments for you too. Yay! So yeah, those are the things that I do. I act and I ADR adapt, and we'll be talking about those things all the way through the course of this weekend, either with panels that I'm giving or with panels that I'm attached to with the Adventures of Voice Acting folks. Does anybody have a question for me? At all, my darlings. What is it, Bradley?
What's it like to be Laura Stahl?
Oh, it's confusing and a little scary all the time. You're always a little cold. You can't really see things that are very far away because you're so close to the ground.
Oh.
You get it. I'm just so short. That's what it's like. It's kind of like living the existence of a goblin. I spend a lot of time by myself. I work in a cave, and when I'm not in one cave, I'm in another cave, because I'm either in my cave where I'm writing, or I'm in the padded rooms where I'm screaming, and that's what it's like to be Laura Stahl.
3, 2, 1, let it rip.
Oh, let it rip. Yes.
Here's an interesting question. When you end up working in an industry that you start as a fan of, and all of the things that you used to do for fun,
Yes.
like watch anime, write, become your profession.
Great.
How do you balance that, and what are the things that you, Laura, do to keep the well full and have fun?
Oh, I like to try to keep this all in perspective because I am incredibly lucky to do the things that I get to do. I have worked in other jobs that I have not been nearly as satisfied or happy or felt as safe in. I have worked in the service industry, which helps you keep everything in perspective. Working in retail or working in food service really gives you a perspective on life and the way that people can very quickly either appreciate what you do if you put forth an extra effort, or not see you as a human being because you are simply different than they are. And getting to do anime, getting to work and to write and create, especially in something that's as fantastical as this, it's really important to keep a perspective, especially when there are moments that you don't want to do it. I promise you, you can have the greatest job on the face of the earth, you can love what you do, you can absolutely reach every dream and goal you've ever wanted to accomplish, and there will be moments that you just don't want to do the thing. And it's not because you're not grateful for the thing, it's because you are tired, or you have cramps, or or you got broken up with, or something tragic has happened in your life and your family, or it's raining outside, or there are too many things in front of you all at once that you just can't handle, and you have an overwhelming anxiety, but you still have to get up and do the thing anyway. I have gone to sessions with food poisoning. That's special. It's a lot. I walked in and like warned just listen, this is going to be the first session that I've ever done where I'm going to do it sitting down, but there's not going to be any other way for me to do this. There's, you can walk in and do a session and they make it comfortable for you. There's a space that you can have a seat or something, or you can stand up. I prefer to stand up because then you have full facility of your lungs and you can use your whole body and all of those other good things, especially if you play really active characters, which I happen to do quite often. But this one I had to sit down and kind of lean because I was going to die. But you can still end up getting the work done, and you have to leave a lot of things outside of the booth. I had a breakup last year, and I had to go to work the next day, and that was hard, but I still had to do it. And the wonderful gift of that was I love what I do. And I was able to step outside of my own life and be in somebody else's for a few hours, and having the capacity to do so felt really good. And I think it's being in the moment, being in the now, and accepting that this moment is fantastic and I never want to let go of it, and it's a beautiful gift that I'll cherish forever. And this moment is trash, but I have to have these moments in order to have those moments is really important to keep in mind. Especially if you're just starting out, no matter what industry you're just starting out in, if you just want to get into fashion or cosplay, or you want to get into music, or you want to get into acting or whatever, there are going to be horrible moments. There are going to be moments that you feel like you don't want to do this anymore, you want to give up, you're done, you're angry, and nobody sees you or understands what you're trying to put forward. And yeah, a little bit, but here's the thing, you have responsibility to you to make your dreams come true. There's nobody out there on the planet who's just gonna walk in and say, here, enjoy an Oscar. Here, you're in the Marvel franchise. Like, that doesn't just happen all the time, except for the people that it does happen to, and I don't wanna talk about them. But, you're responsible for yourself and your own happiness. So it's important to take stock and be like, hey, I think I want this thing and I want to pursue this thing, but doing so is making me cry every night. Or doing so is making me angry. It's alienating me from my friends. I don't like it. This is difficult to pursue, and I think that this is an unfair industry. You know what, then? It's okay to reshape what you feel that success is. It's really okay to take a step back and say, I think that success is just being happy, and I don't think that necessarily this thing that I'm looking for or this goal that I have is the thing that's going to do it, because the journey towards it is torture. It's okay to step away from that. In fact, I encourage it, because sometimes you find the most beautiful stuff by making mistakes or making new choices or remaking everything, because every day you can decide to be a whole new person. I don't even know what I was answering. But does anybody else have any other questions? Hi.
Yeah, hi. I I just was curious, do you have trouble leaving your character in the booth? Or have you had any trouble leaving the character in the booth and not taking it home with you?
Ooh, that's a good question. It depends on the moment. There have been moments that have been really, really interesting because there have been things that have been happening with characters that reflected something that was going on with me in my own life. And in that case, that has been interesting and difficult, and almost kind of felt like a lesson from the universe or something, like, hey, look, just notice this about you, and notice this about the character, and understand why that's lining up. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't wanna. I've had moments where, but usually I'm usually able to shake things off because I think that's necessary, especially when you're doing something as fantastical as anime. Oh my God, Laura Stahl, I love you! Lauren. You're too much. You're just too much, baby. Okay, that was Lauren Landa. You should go and see her because she is made of sunshine and rainbows and is everything good in this world. But I think I've had less trouble when the characters letting go of the characters walking out of the booth, and I've had actually more interesting moments where a moment in an acting moment has affected me harder or more than I expected to. I've had moments where I was like giving a monologue or something that was coming up, and that there was something very tragic that was happening, and I suddenly tears are coming. And I didn't mean for tears to come. I wasn't ready for the tears to come yet. This is the thing that's happening, and I need to hold on to this because there's a lot more for this to go. And I need to have a breakdown while I'm acting. And like getting through it and but allowing, at the same time, allowing for those things to affect you, allowing for those things to happen because it's truthful. And that's what the performance needs. And then after finishing that, there was one time I had that moment where I was doing a video game, and there was this really, really tragic moment of basically saying goodbye to my one true love and agreeing that this needed to happen, and basically that they had to die. And I had that whole moment, and it was very tender and sweet and quiet and hard. And once that was finished, I'm like, all right, why don't we take a 5-minute break? I just laid down on the floor of the booth and cried. I just was like, I can't. I just couldn't do it. I was checked out for like that 5 minutes. And then we had to keep going because we hadn't finished the panel yet, not the panel, the session yet. And yeah, I got back up and it was a time skip, so we had to go back in time and everything was fine again. So I'm like, okay, there we go. So that's really fun. So sometimes you need those moments, need to let go of those moments, even when you're in the middle of the booth, in the middle of the session, because you'll have one scene that's just tragic and difficult and hard, and then you'll have a time skip, and you're feeling wonderful, and everything has changed, and you've made new decisions, and your character's happy and skipping and laughing and joking, and you were just sobbing a second ago, and often you have no idea that these things are coming to you at all when you walk into the booth, because a lot of voice actors you don't have a lot of notice as to what you're going to be recording that day. So you just go on this crazy journey, and you have to be able to shake it off right now so that you can keep going and do your job. But that's so much fun for me because I like emotional torture. So it's great.
Are the characters in your scripts emotionally tortured?
Often. I don't know why that's my type. Last year I was playing a lot of very angsty, angry, kind of abused characters, and this year I'm playing very awkward, unsure, not confident characters who are kind of shy and retiring but need to step up to the plate. This is a weird type, because usually when people are saying, what type do you play? Oh, I'm a knight. Oh, I usually play like military people, or I play mothers, or I play princes, or whatever. And I'm like, I play traumatized.
Actually, they sound like Shrinking Violets.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you go. Shrinking Violets. That's a good thing.
I've been playing Shrinking the Violets last year. Last year it was that emo kid.
Oh yeah. Last year was angsty emo edgelord boy, and this year is Shrinking Violet. We'll see what happens next year. Are there more questions about whatever? All we're doing here is trying to find out who Laura Stahl is. Yes?
So,
Yeah.
speaking of those emotionally tortured places,
Yes.
like in real life,
Oh.
how much do you tap into your real life sense memory, if we're gonna go Meisner with this,
Mhm.
how much do you use that during sessions? Or do you just try to just be in the moment as much as possible and not really think about the terrible things that have ever happened to you in life?
It depends. I think I am far less method driven when it comes to my acting, and I think the best term that I could put forward for like my technique would be finger paint. I just do whatever, I grab for whatever pops up into my mind at that moment, because each moment is different and real and has its own uniqueness. Sometimes I see the face of somebody that I've known for a long time, or sometimes what's happening in the music of the playback moves me far enough that I can deal with it. Or sometimes, there was a moment for The Promised Neverland where my character was finally deciding like this was going to be his comeuppance. I'm going to enact my final plan, which was really tragic and difficult and scary and something that he absolutely should not have done. But he was like, this is it. I've been driven to this point, and it's because of the inequality of this moment. And I could feel that anger inside of me, not just for not only as my person and personal experiences, but for my like heritage experiences and the difficulties that I have faced through that, the difficulties my family has faced through that, and other things. If you're curious, I'm half Jewish and half black. And there have been a lot of really interesting things that have happened because of that in my life, within my family, outside of my family, within my own experience, within my family's experience. And that really struck a chord in me, and I let that fire take me exactly where it needed me to go, and I needed a minute after that too. So I'll let whatever comes up come up. And it also depends on how comfortable you are in the booth, because sometimes, especially if you're in a really difficult moment, a tender moment, a vulnerable moment, it's helpful if you trust the team that you have in front of you, that you have with you. There was one really difficult moment for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that I had to deal with, and I am luckily really well acquainted with the director. Tony Oliver is a wonderful friend of mine, and so I actually spoke to him about it beforehand because I found out about it, luckily, from someone else who knew the story far better than I did, and said, I know that this is coming up for me, I know it's going to be difficult for me, I need you to be there. And he's like, you got it, we got this thing, it's gonna be fine, and luckily it was. But sometimes you might be in the booth and there might be somebody who's not quite as sensitive to what the material has to offer, and how difficult that can be for certain people. If you're dealing with like moments if you're trying to portray a moment of abuse, that's really, really tough. And if somebody's in there maybe cracking jokes, depending on the comfortability of the person. Because for some people, they need the jokes, they need the levity, they need it to not be too real. And that will get them through. But for others, they need the gravity, they need to be able to get to where they need to go and to quietly move forward within the scene so they can get through it. And it just depends from actor to actor. And it's really important that the people who are on the team, like the engineer and the director, or whomever else might be in the room, pay attention and are conscious of that. And luckily, for the most part, I've been very fortunate in the teammates that I've had on each project. Are there other questions? Because I'll just make things up. Oh, yeah, what's up?
Do you have a vocal program to go through daily or before you really decide yourself?
It depends. I try to do gentle vocal warm-up in the car. I might hum a little bit. I play a lot of little boy characters, so I use a lot of my lower register and chest voice and resonance, and sometimes, especially if they're active or if they're loud, like 9/10 of the ones that I play who are very loud and screaming, I want to make sure that those are placed correctly. So maybe sometimes I'll sing in voice, because I know if I can sing correctly and not hurt myself or start coughing because it's placed correctly, then I'm good as gold and I can keep going because I'm not thinking about where the placement is. If you're trying to be a voice actor and you're just trying to create voices, it can be, you want to make sure that they're placed well so that you're not hurting yourself, so that you can do it sustainably and not think about it. So if you can read in voice, if you can do Shakespeare in voice, then you know that's something that you can hold on to and not have to think about, so you can focus entirely on the acting rather than the placement or how weird it sounds, or whatever, because then it's just a voice that's not affecting anyone. But if you can tell the truth while you have a strange voice on, you're gold. So yeah, I have a few things that I'll do, but not anything incredibly strenuous. I should probably fix that. But I did study voice. I did study singing when I was in school, and I studied voice pronunciation and speech and correct placement of speaking and pronunciation. When I was in school, I actually had a lateral lisp, so instead of saying ocean, I said ocean, and it was very cute, but not helpful. Are there other questions? I saw you raised the hand. Yep, hi.
Have you met Johnny Young Bosch?
Yes, very briefly, I met him. We met, actually the funny thing is he was in the same anime that I was in once on one of my first female lead characters. I was in Gundam Thunderbolt Bandit Flower, and I played Bianca Carlisle, and he was in that anime with me, but we had never met. And then like a year and a half went by before we actually were face to face. And we met at at Anime Orlando, Fest Orlando, and it was hilarious because he was coming in and he had his 2 kids with him, and they were adorable, and he was walking and we were trying to go to the closing ceremonies, and just as he turns the corner with the kids, there's a man on stage who's stripping, and so he just turned right back around and went back with his children. It's like, that's not appropriate, but it was very sweet, and he's really wholesome and wonderful. I love Johnny. I don't know him very, very well. Are there other questions? Other things I could talk about? My favorite color is orange. What's that?
So, you have met other voice actors, right?
Yes.
You met Laura Post?
Yes.
And,
I have met Laura Post. And who?
Came by.
Lauren Lando. Oh yeah, we're good friends. That's why she screamed at me.
Yeah. So who else have you met?
Oh, I don't know. There's oodles. The fun thing is that we run into each other. Voice actors run into each other in studio all the time. Just crossing paths. I've met Brad Venable. He's back there. He's in a bunch of wonderful things, and he's really good at stuff.
Yeah, like monster voices.
He's good at the monster voices. He's not always monsters, but he's good at the monster voices.
But most of the time.
Most of the time, you're monsters.
Monster or fat guys. Just one.
You did Hero Mask, right?
I did.
And
that was the first time I'd done someone under the weight of 150 pounds.
But you kicked butt, and you were amazing.
But so did Greg Chunt. He was way better than me.
No, he was not better.
Yes,
he is good.
He was the man of action. I was basically the man who sit back and went like this the whole time.
See, but I relate to that man. So I know him, and Chris Turley-Afera is he's a wonderful guy. We used to work together at Universal Studios because I worked in the costuming department, and he was friends with Megatron. And what else is him? Who else do I know? I mean, several. All of the Ericas that exist.
All 17.
All 17 Ericas, they're around, they're wonderful, they're good friends of mine. Kyle McCarley, like I said, is one of my best friends in the whole world. Tony Oliver has become, I call him my LA dad. Honest to goodness, if I call my father and I'm like having a trouble or something, I'm like, this is happening, I don't know what to do, and he's like, you should call Tony. I'm like, really, Dad? Are you like tag teaming? Like, what is this? It's co-parenting from like across, because my dad lives in Wisconsin and Tony is here, so it's like co-parenting across the nation. And yeah, Tony's basically my father-in-law. In fact, he yelled at me because I didn't come to the Christmas celebration. He was holding Christmas and he told me to come over. It's like, but I'm still kind of sick, I'm sorry. And he's like, you should be here. I'm sorry, Tony.
Wear a mask.
Oh, golly. But he's a wonderful person as well. So it's, yeah, I've met several, but I don't want to sit and just name drop people. They're all, I will say, and I also, this man, Koi Dao, he's good. He's a voice actor. Shush up. He's great. Listen, bro. Okay. But what I will say is I am very grateful to be a part of the voice actor community. When I was working in television and film, I don't think there was nearly as strong of a tie and bond between the actors as there is in the voice actor community. We spend a lot of time together. We are each other's champions across the board. When any one of us is feeling down or low self-esteem, or like we're not, you know, like we're losing steam, or we're not believing in ourselves, there's always somebody close by who's willing to do it when you can't. And that's something I will always be extremely grateful for. Brad is really great about that. He believes in everybody, and he's been a complete gift this whole time. Yeah, right? He's beautiful. A hand for Brad! Yeah! We love him! But yeah, that's, voice actors in general have just been, it's been a complete and utter honor to be around them, among them, and a part of the group. I don't necessarily think of myself as sitting at the cool kids table yet, but I'm working on it. Yeah, it's super fun. Where are we at? Oh, it's 3. Was that? Oh, 3:30. I have half an hour. We can do more things. Let's talk about more stuff.
Question?
You have a question? Hi, darling.
Hi. So how did you kind of, first of all, like, how did you start coming up with, like, different characters and kind of learning about, you know, what your voice can and cannot do?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, when you get, like, an audition, how do you kind of, you know, pick and choose, okay, this is the voice that I want to use, or how did you start going about things like that?
Cool. That's a great question. So the way that I kind of go about those things is I worry far less about what the voice sounds like and far more about how the character feels. So, like say, when I was trying to figure out what Ivor was going to sound like for Beyblade, let's say that. So he's a boy, he's 10, you know, we'll put that aside for now. So he's young, he's impressionable, he's excited, he is competitive, he's aggressive, and he wants to be the best. So whenever he speaks, he's gonna kind of make his presence known. It's gonna be kind of, you know, aggressive, impactful, and it's gonna stand out, and it's going to be usually pretty loud. So I was like, okay, so he's gonna be a kid, and he's gonna be angry, and he's not necessarily angry, but he's gonna be a heavy hitter. He's gonna have all the energy in the world, and always more to spare, and like literally this kid was ridiculous, like, cause he'd be talking about something, yelling about something, and he'd get so overwhelmed that he'd run away and then climb a tree and just scream into nothing. Like, that's just something that he does. Like, just thinking about like those bits of that character, that kind of sets you into the mind frame. And usually you'll instinctively flow to where, or at least I will instinctively go to where that needs to be. So for Ivor Akabane, he's super excited and can't wait to get into another battle. Like, he's just, ah! And it's really funny, people laugh at me when they watch me in the booth, in particular, because I get very active. I start moving, I start punching out, you know, off into the air, and hopefully not hit anything that costs money and will get me fired. You know, you gotta be careful, because there's a lot of very expensive equipment in there, and I need to finish paying off my student loans. And you know, and so it's all very physical, as long as you can keep the mic in front of you and you not piss off the engineer by moving too much off the mic, because they'll come for you. But it's all, you know, as long as you're not hurting yourself, there's no holds barred. There was one thing, I got really excited because I realized where a colleague of mine, because their boy voice is a different placement from where I usually go, because usually I'll go down to like the resonance in my chest and pitch down and things like that. But this other person will kind of almost go up into their nasal cavity, and they'll go for their mask, their resonant mask. And I found that one day, and I was like, oh, there's a whole nother group of boys I can be. I'm so excited. And I was like, I get really nerdy about these things. But far more, and I will always say, way before the voice, it's the character itself. It's how do they feel? What do they want? What are they going for? What are they afraid of? Who are they friends with? Who do they hate? Like, all of those things will kind of trickle down and inform what you're doing. You have all these plates spinning in the air, all of this information in front of you, and then you have to kind of throw it all away and trust your gut. Which sounds both really complicated and easy at the same time, because you have to think without thinking. Does that not answer your question?
Yeah, because when I was younger, I was actually working with Disney for almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot of toys and apps and like some TV spots for them, but I was voice matching.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I had a reference, and it was easy for me to kind of be like, okay, this is the voice that I need to sound like. And
Oh, yeah.
Obviously after a while, I was like, I could just go in the booth and I could do it. I knew what I was doing.
Right, because you could feel where it belonged. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so now that, I'm a bit older and it's different, and I'm getting, auditions for, okay, like here's what it looks like, but there's no reference. They're just like, give me the description. And so that's something new that like, also my agents and, my coach are like, okay, well now you're in a different league and it's going to be so much more competitive, and you have to know how to change your voice, how to go into those lower registers, how to, sound like some space alien from, like 10 planets away.
Well, see, but that's the great thing though, is like, there aren't any of those.
Exactly.
So they can sound like anything you want.
Yeah.
They can be anywhere you want. So the best thing for you to do at that point is to just make a strong choice. Whatever choice you make, believe in it. Just be like, this is what I sound like now. This, if I think this is if I think space aliens sound like this is what space aliens sound like. But if you just halfway get there and you're like, I'm not confident, I think this sounds kind of weird, and you start falling out of the voice, and then it sounds like you can't sustain it. Right? So if you just make the choice, draw your line in the sand. Put your flag down. This is my space. This is what's happening. You can make several choices, especially in auditions. If they're saying that you can do multiple takes, you can make several. As long as they're really distinctive choices, you can make several choices. But when you make the choice, make it. And that's going to sell you. That's what's going to make it strong. Because nobody's going to make the choices that you make. There are intuitive choices in front of you that you could make that, you're like, if I'm sad here, I'm going to probably cry at this point, or whatever's going to happen. Like, those things happen. But at the same time, nobody has the experiences that you have. Nobody has the vocal cords that you've got, So you're going to make your choices. They're going to be your own. And it's way less about whether you're making the right one and more about, or their right one and making your right one. Because they're looking for you,
Thank you.
Yeah, babe. You're adorable, by the way. Yeah. Are there more questions? Let's see what else we could talk about.
I think I got one.
Ooh.
Is this your first time doing solely as a panelist?
I almost. This is probably my second one. I did Anime Fest Orlando, and this is my third one. Solo panel. And I'm just starting to do conventions. I'm going to a few more this year, which is really exciting and terrifying at the same time. I'm still getting used to this, guys. Like, let me level with you, because like there's only a few of us here. We're kind of hanging out. We're friends now. We all know each other. I still I've been at this for almost 3 years, which is not a long time. I have more experience than some, but not nearly as much as many. And I get scared sometimes. I get self-conscious sometimes. I get nervous. I am always surprised when I get booked for stuff. It's always a good surprise, but I haven't picked up entitlement yet. I haven't figured this is where I belong, this is what I owe, this is what should happen. And so I'm incredibly grateful. But at the same time, I still don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. And I think that's the big secret, is nobody really knows what they're doing. We just say that we do. Or we try to sell it really hard and be like, yeah, this is great, this is exactly what happens. But there's always exceptions to prove the rule. There's always things that come at you from left field. Like I was talking about just getting into voiceover. I wasn't trying. That wasn't what I was going for. I don't want to say I wasn't trying. It was super easy. It was not. It was really difficult once I went for it. It took a while for me to get there, and there were lots of moments where I was like, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I'm not for it, was the feeling. Maybe it's not necessarily that it's not for me, because I really love it, but maybe I'm not for it was the scary question. Maybe this isn't what I'm made for. I am trepidatiously and hopefully and quietly thinking maybe I'm proving myself wrong finally, which is great and super exciting, but oh Lord, it's a lot. But yeah, I'm still new at this. I've done a few, and some have gone really, really well, and others have gone really, really awry. But I'm doing my best here. We're trying. Are there other questions? Other thoughts? What's up?
Besides the experience of your crying in the booth,
Mm-hmm.
what other memorable experiences have you had actually recording?
Ooh, let's think.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Well, thank you, but your question is really good. Other really memorable moments. There's a bad habit that I have that I shouldn't tell anyone, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. I have this thing where, especially if I'm like on a long haul project, if I know I'm going to be working on this for a while, and I get really comfortable with the team that I'm working with, and I'm really happy with, I'm working on this character. It's, it can get really, really casual at work. And one of my favorite things to do is we call it drop bombs for the other voice actors. You know exactly what I mean. I especially like in anime. So when you're recording anime, what happens is you have the playback. So you watch the preview of what where your line is supposed to go, this next line that you're going to say. And you watch the playback, and you have the music in, and you have the animation and everything that's there, and the Japanese performance as well. So you watch that moment, and you get to see what the flaps look like, so you can try to match what you have written in front of you as your dialogue to the animation, timing-wise, right? So, and that's really fun and an interesting challenge. But what I like to do is improv a different line and leave that there, so that when the next actor goes in the booth and has to hear what I have to say, when they do, because they'll do the playback again when you're actually recording, and if the other actor has already been the person who's speaking in English, you'll have that there so you can play off of it. Well, sometimes I say bad things. And I leave those there so that other actors have to deal with it. One of the people that has had to deal with the most of my bombs that I would drop would be Billy Kometz. He'll tell you, I'm not a professional.
That in and of itself makes you a professional.
Does it?
Yes.
Me screwing around in the booth and wasting time and money?
You're not wasting time.
Okay, good. But that's one of my favorite things to do is get to work with other people who may not necessarily be there, but who are really wonderful friends of mine. It's always exciting to find out who else is in the cast with you, and if you're acquainted with them, if you really, you care about them and you know that they're wonderful. Billy Kometz is a fantastic actor. Brad is a fantastic actor. Coy is amazing. I get surrounded by so many really talented, skilled performers every day, either just in my ears or I get to just see them at a coffee shop. It's super lucky. But it's great when you can work with people that you know are going to be able to, number one, carry the show really well, and number two, deserve the work that they're getting, not just because they're talented, but because they're good. They're just good people. They're sweet people. They mean well. Like I said, the voiceover community is ridiculous. They're so supportive. It's disgusting. And I love it. So those are some of my really favorite moments. Or, oh gosh. When I found out, this was not in the booth. This was not in the booth. This was elsewhere. So a few years ago, the first time when Iger Akabane in Beyblade was my very first leading role at all. And so that was a really big deal for me. That was a really big moment for me. So I auditioned for that character, and later on, like a month or so goes by, and I was at Bang Zoom helping out for a class, and I found out, and Mommy, the casting director, pulled myself and my friend Dora into her office as we were walking by trying to finish things up, and she said, I just wanted to let you know, both of you both were cast in Beyblade. Both of you. You got your roles. And we're like, what? And Dora was so excited because she knew who she was, and I was like, but I auditioned for 2 roles. Which one? But I was too excited to say anything, so I was like, oh yeah, that's so amazing, thank you so much, okay, bye. And I left the room, and I was like, but wait. Because either role would have been wonderful, because I was obviously wanting to work, but one of them was a fun supporting role, and the other one was the lead character. And I wouldn't be mad at either, but I wanted the lead character. So I was like, but what is it? But I was too shy. I wasn't gonna go over to her and be like, hey, what's this happening? Who am I? What did I get? I don't know. I wasn't that person. I was too scared, I was too shy, I was too nervous, and so I didn't do that. So Dora actually is far more assertive than I am. So Dora actually went to Mommy's office one day and she was like, hey, Laura's really excited, but she'd like to know who she got, because she couldn't send out the cast list yet because they were still casting for the rest of the show. So it wasn't official. And she's like, oh, I'll tell her. Okay, so like another whole month goes by, and I'm sitting here with this, like, I know I'm in it, but I don't know where, and I don't know what, and I want to know, and I don't want to be ungrateful, but gosh darn it, I would really like to have the lead. And then I got to go with Bang Zoom to Anime Central in Chicago, and which was really fun, and I was helping host things, and I was running around and being really crazy and had no time and was incredibly hungry and didn't have time to do anything. But I was up there and I was hosting the open auditions that Bang Zoom would do. And I finished one stint up there, and I think we had like finished the whole thing. I think it was the end. And I was like done, I'm like okay. And I went to the little backstage area that they had built, and I went inside, and I had been working so hard I hadn't eaten that day, and they shoved like cold lobster bisque into my hands, and I was sitting on the floor just eating soup like this, just kind of tired and shell-shocked. And Mommy comes in, and she sits on the floor beside me while I've got a mouthful of food, and she's like, I just wanted to tell you, you got Iker, you got the lead. And I'm like, huh? What? And she's like, yeah, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And I'm like trying to like put things down so and she's like trying to give me a hug, and I'm like, but there's bisque. And like, it's just, and that was an amazing moment, because the sweet thing was she wanted to be the one to tell me, and it wasn't official yet. I shouldn't have known. She's like, I can't send you the email yet because we're still casting. It's taking a while, but just I want you to know, and I'm really excited for you, and I really think that this is going to be like the start of something amazing for you. And like she was just really heartfelt and wonderful, and I was like basically in tears with a mouthful of food, and I looked hilarious. So that was one of my favorite moments of my career thus far. Was lobster bisque on the floor. What are we at? We have 5 more minutes. Does anybody else have any like parting questions? I can talk about some of the other shows that I've done or anything.
Yeah, shows you've done, it would be awesome.
Oh gosh, just all of them? Like,
what's your favorite one?
oh, don't ask me that question. They're all my babies.
Which one would you work on again if you asked?
Oh. All of them. Are you kidding? I'm not going to say no to paychecks. No, no, but for real, it's the wonderful thing is especially in voiceover as an actor, in one day I can play so many different characters. I can be so many different people. Like as a television actor, it's great, and you're there on set and you're playing one character and you're there for maybe 13 hours for the whole day. I can work, between 2 and 6 hours and have been 14 different people or creatures or things, and it's fantastic. I'm grateful for everything that I've gotten to do. But I mean, if I'm gonna try, I can't talk about that one. But Promised Neverland is one of my very favorite things, because I'm a fan of the story itself. Even as an actor, even if I wasn't acting in it, I would watch the thing. It's fantastic. It's suspenseful and dark and brooding and makes you think, and I love that. Right now I'm still working on Welcome to Demon School. That's airing on Crunchyroll and rolling out every Saturday. And I love that show. It's so funny. Everybody else is so much funnier than I'll ever be in that show. They're hilarious. DC Douglas is kicking butt. He's so funny. Kaylee Mills is hilarious and has so much more energy than the sun itself. And Billy Kometz is getting to do something like completely wacky and off the wall and insane, which he usually doesn't get to do. He's usually like the brooding man. Like he's very, very serious. But here he gets to be wacky and light and fun, and that's amazing. Our director is fantastic. His name is Jalen, and he absolutely belongs in the director's seat. It's been a really difficult struggle for him sometimes because he deserves so much and he's so talented, but he's also young, so people get nervous, but they don't need to be. He's good at what he does. So I'm loving that job. And every show that I get to work on with Tony Oliver is a gift. Like, I don't know. It's all good. Yes.
Would you say, Laura, to piggyback from this answer,
Help
would
me.
you say that it is, at some point in your career, you get to stop thinking about, I just want to work on this, I just want to work, to the point where you just say, I want to work with XYZ people?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really strong point of view to try to have as early on as you can have it. I mean, there is something to be said to accepting work and paying your dues and all of those things that are in front of you and involved, but also it's really important to have a guideline and a plumb line of your own moral compass and things like that, and knowing who you want to be surrounded by, what kind of people you want to be surrounded by. There's so much to be said about finding your tribe and knowing who they are and knowing that you're surrounded by people who will inspire you to be better. They don't have to do anything for it, they just have to exist and be there and be who they are. But it makes you want to reach new heights and new levels even as you watch them succeed. That's another thing. You don't have to be upset about anybody else's success. Use it to guide you, use it to fuel you. They can do that, I can do that. And I can do it completely differently than they can do that. There's no need to be worried or envious of the thing that they book. Even if you read for it and they book it, it's okay, it wasn't for you. But absolutely, there's an opportunity that's made personally for you, tailor-made, that's yours. It's coming to you, it's just gonna take a little bit more time. So don't worry so much about other people's journeys. You wanna worry about your own, and not worry about it, but enjoy it. Yeah. I love working with people that I love to work with. I love working on stories that I love, but I'm also open to things that I don't know. I'm open to new possibilities. I'm open to accepting and saying yes to opportunities that I don't expect, because that's how I got here, and here is awesome. So let's see what happens over there. I have 1 minute left. Yes.
If you could, what anime would you like to be in?
If I could pick any anime, what anime would I be in?
Yeah, like what would you voice?
Oh, all the things I'm already voicing. What would I do? I would want to go back in time and be part of Cowboy Bebop. Listen to that hum in the background. Like, right?
Choice!
I know. Cowboy Bebop rock. Like, oh my gosh, it's such a good show. I got to meet Spike's Beagle. That's not his name, but I love him anyway. See how excited I am? But yeah, I would love that. But other than that, I don't want to put a limit on it. I don't want to define that. I just want to allow whatever's going to show up instead, because I think the universe is going to bring something far more cool than what I can imagine myself. Yeah, so I guess this concludes Who the Hell is Laura Stahl? We still don't know, but we'll discover. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you hanging out with me for this hour. You've all been amazing. I'll see you later.